the people in politics of Bihar are different from that of Uttar Pradesh in the sense that it's not easy to communalize an election in Bihar. It's been attempted in Uttar Pradesh very often, especially from the west going all the way to the east, it succeeds. In Bihar, it's been much tougher. Manisha, Priyam, you've tracked the politics of both states. Will the BJP alone be able to take on the JDU and the RJD like it did take on the SP and the BSP successfully in 2024? Or does this alliance make the route to power from Bihar tougher for Prime Minister Modi?
Prime Minister Modi 2024 has many seats all over India.
Sure.
Now, in that sense, in Bihar, they only need to do very well. They need to hold their fort. They need to do very well. Remember, the focus at this point of time is on Mr. Nitish Kumar having broken with the alliance, but it was the BJP cadres that were very restive. Even in 2020 October, at the height of the COVID spreading, I could hear that all that the BJP cadres wanted was to move away from the JDU. They were seeing that they were paying a heavy price for the anti-incumbency on the ground. They wanted more seats for themselves. They were also a bit tired of the dominance of the Kurmi caste that at that point of time, Mr. Nitish Kumar and Mr. RCP's firm leadership of the party represented. So the party on the ground did have to listen to its cadres. To that extent, it conceded too many seats. On the other side, there was a Mr. Nitish Kumar who was always upset with the BJP. Remember, the real villain in the piece was thought to be Chirag Paswan, and Mr. Nitish Kumar, for his bad performance, always felt that it was the Trojan horse that did him in. And Chirag Paswan was someone he was never willing to forgive the BJP for. So that government was formed on a certain amount of mistrust. Coming to 2024, the BJP will have a clean chart for itself. It can fight all the seats on its own. It's a fairly mandalized party following the elections in Uttar Pradesh. In Bihar also, remember, it's been able to carve out some segments of the OBCs. I definitely see a very militant Kushwaha caste on the ground that competes with the Kurmis, and I find that it's only the EBCs where the BJP at this point of time does not have its own vote base. So the BJP could very well move ahead with a large chunk of the forwards, with an investment having been strongly made in the Vaishya community, but also amongst the OBCs.
Rahul
But
Srivastava,
yes,
why did
as far
Nitish
as
Kumar decide
the
to strike at this moment? He's been upset for a long time. This has been building up over the past 4-5 months. But the seeds of distrust were sown in the last assembly elections when Nitish felt he was being undercut. Why did Nitish strike now?
See, Rahul, yesterday when we were discussing the same issue, I spoke about the fact that Nitish always plays for the next game. I think this entire move is largely for 2024, and there can be no doubt about it because the Bihar election is after that. Now, why is he playing for 2024? It could well be perhaps his last game. Remember, Nitish Kumar's equity in terms of seats won in assembly has been going down. And even the last time around, he went with the RJD. He got 71 odd seats, but when he came with the BJP, it was down to 45 odd seats. If you see what Nitish Kumar could be, if you think what Nitish Kumar could be thinking, that there is, say, 2 years to go for the Lok Sabha elections, slightly less than that. Nitish Kumar was looking for a platform to launch himself as a candidate for the prime ministerial race. Now, in the NDA, there was no chance. There is one Narendra Modi. Now, nobody else like a Mamata Banerjee, others won't accept him. So what he has done, he has gone to a platform which actually has a possibility of accepting him as a prime minister candidate. See why? Because today Tejasvi will be a deputy CM to him. Lalu wants to install his son in the state politics. There is certain amount of time, say after 1.5 years or so, Nitish Kumar becomes the prime ministerial candidate. Tejasvi Yadav inherits the state. Lalu Yadav cannot be the PM aspirant. He has got too many cases against him. So Nitish Kumar gets a platform. There is already talk of uniting a lot of old Janata Party, Janata Dal. That may not happen. But the fact is that Nitish gets a platform. What does Lalu get out of it? Gets his son installed. Also, if you recall that in his book, Lalu Prasad Yadav, in his autobiography, has very clearly said that even in 2017, Prashant Kishore met him 3 or 5 times bringing a message that if RJD submits a letter of support for JDU, he will abandon the BJP. I think Nitish Kumar is playing for the 2024 game.